The movie kicks off by introducing two students, Amagai Kohei and Suzaki Ryo, from Seinomon Technical High School. These two boys are shown rallying support and preparing for an attack against their rival school, Oya High School. Meanwhile, the leader of the Oya High School gangsters, Hanaoka Fujio, finds himself at Suzoran High School, which is notorious for its fierce and divided factions of powerful students. Undeterred by the school's reputation, Fujio bravely ventures into Suzoran headquarters to search for a student named Lao. However, Mercy, one of Suzoran's commanders, questions Fujio's knowledge of Lao's whereabouts, as many people would think twice about entering Suzoran's school alone due to the school's violent reputation. Despite Mercy's warning, the students of Suzoran High School proceed to attack Fujio without hesitation. Shortly after the Suzoran students attacked him, Fujio managed to survive the onslaught. Mercy, who had witnessed the scuffle, intervened and stopped the fight. He reminded Fujio that if he wanted to challenge Lao, he would have to wait in line like everyone else. Despite Fujio's brave attempt to enter Suzoran alone, Mercy found his audacity amusing and allowed him to leave unharmed. On his way home, Fujio was unaware that he had crossed paths with Lao. Later on, Fujio visited Hosein Academy, the school that had previously defeated him and his Oya High School gang. However, despite his previous loss, Fujio's chivalrous nature eventually led him to form a strong alliance with Hosein's leader, Ueda Sachio, and the two became close friends. Unfortunately, when Fujio arrived at Hosein Academy, he learned that Sachio was not present because he had gone overseas to care for his ill mother. The Hosein commanders warned Fujio about the danger of visiting Suzoran, and Saba-kan recounted the events that took place there. He mentioned several prominent Suzoran commanders, including Seta Kansuke, Yamaguchi, Mercy, Binzo, and Lao. After returning to Oya headquarters, Fujio shared his experiences with one of his juniors, Jamuo. To Fujio's surprise, Jamuo revealed a rumor about Lao, who was not only well known among high school students, but also notorious among the public for his troublesome behavior. Jamuo mentioned that Lao had recently caused a cafe to close down due to his disruptive behavior. Despite the rumors, Fujio remained unconvinced that Lao was a bad person and was left speechless by the story. In the vicinity of Oya High School, Takajo Tsukasa, one of the commanders of Oya, was observed assaulting students from other schools. Shortly after, Todoroki Yosuke, one of the strongest students in Oya, approached Tsukasa to discuss the current state of their school following the departure of the third-grade students. Oya had lost some of its most formidable students, leaving the school vulnerable to attacks from other schools seeking to seize control. Meanwhile, at Seinomon headquarters, Kohei was offering a sum of money to anyone willing to pledge allegiance to him. However, Ryo did not appreciate Kohei's attitude, which he felt was demeaning and akin to treating people like slaves. Tsukasa and Yosuke were determined to uncover the truth about Lao and his alleged spy in their school, so they sought out the help of one of the Hosein commanders, Otojima Yuken. With Yuken's assistance, they were led to Mercy's house where they confronted him about his actions. He ultimately confessed to what he knew about Lao. After learning Mercy's story, Tsukasa and Yosuke invited Fujio to an orphanage where they witnessed Lao interacting with the children. Despite rumors of his criminal activity, Tsukasa revealed that Lao was simply defending the orphanage children who were frequently oppressed. As a fellow orphan, Lao understood their struggles and took it upon himself to protect them. Fujio was astonished by Lao's selfless actions and realized that he had misjudged him from the beginning. At the Seinomon headquarters, Kohei attempted to bribe Hosein commander Shida Kenzo into betraying his friends and joining the Seinomon alliance for their upcoming attack on Oya High School. Despite being in dire need of money for his family, Kenzo remained loyal to his friends and refused the offer, leaving the room. Enraged by Kenzo's refusal, Kohei ordered his men to kill him, fearing that Kenzo may leak Seinomon's plans. As they left the room, one of Kohei's men questioned why Ryo blindly followed Kohei's orders like a slave. Ryo remained silent, knowing that the men were powerful rulers of another region and that the question was of little importance. In the past, Ryo's father had been a loyal servant to Kohei's family, and Ryo was tasked with taking care of Kohei himself. This led to Ryo blindly following Kohei's every command, even if it went against his own values. One day, Kenzo emerged from Seinomon's headquarters only to find himself being trailed by a group of attackers. With no other option, Kenzo engaged in a one-on-one fight with each assailant, but the sheer number of attackers proved to be too much for him to handle. As Kenzo lay defeated and unconscious, he attempted to contact Yuken for help, but Yuken was busy practicing martial arts with other Hosein students and was unaware of the attack. At the Oya headquarters, Tsukasa filled Fujio in on the current state of their school and reminded him that he was now the leader of Oya. But Tsukasa quickly realized that Fujio wasn't ready for the responsibility that came with the title. Fujio often took matters into his own hands instead of relying on his fellow students for help. Tsukasa urged him to lean on his friends more. Meanwhile, over at Hosein, Yuken was growing concerned about the whereabouts of Kenzo. He hadn't been able to reach him for a while now, and the ominous feeling in the air was only growing stronger. A chaotic scene unfolds on the streets as a car abruptly stops and causes a traffic jam. Frustrated drivers approached the vehicle, only to be interrupted by the arrival of the Sainomon Alliance group led by Kohei. They had come to attack the Oya headquarters. Meanwhile, the Oya students were unaware of the impending danger. As soon as the Sainomon group reached the Oya headquarters, they launched a surprise attack, catching the Oya students off guard. Kohei's plan was successful as the Oya students were outnumbered and quickly overwhelmed. Some students had to sacrifice themselves to save their friends. Fujio was separated from Tsukasa amidst the chaos and was forced to fight one of the Sainomon commanders who was skilled in using knuckles. On the flip side, Tsukasa found himself in a physical altercation with Kohei's men, including Ryo, and was ultimately left paralyzed by Ryo's attack. With Tsukasa helpless, Kohei took advantage and mercilessly beat him with a pipe before ordering his men to abduct him. Kohei's plan was to use Tsukasa as bait to lure Fujio to the Sainomon headquarters for a final showdown. Meanwhile, Fujio headed to Oya's headquarters, where he was met with the disheartening news that half of his group had already been defeated by Sainomon. The situation grew even more dire when Fujio learned that Yosuke, one of Oya's strongest students, was the next target on Sainomon's hit list. In the midst of chaos, Fujio struggled to figure out how to lead Oya High School with no allies to turn to for help. His right-hand man Jamo asked for his next move, but Fujio was left with no clear answer. Tsukasa lay bound and helpless at the Sainomon headquarters, his body racked with pain from Kohei's torture. As Ryo prepared to leave the room, Tsukasa, who had witnessed Ryo's impressive strength, mustered the courage to ask him a question. Why would someone as powerful as Ryo follow a man like Kohei? As it turns out, a few days prior, Ryo had accidentally overheard Kohei bragging to his fellow Sainomon members about Ryo's loyalty to him. According to Kohei, Ryo was a slave who only stuck around for his family's money. But what Kohei didn't realize was that Ryo had always considered him a friend. Despite learning the truth about Kohei's feelings, Ryo wasn't angry or upset. He continued to care deeply for Kohei and chose to see him as a friend, regardless of their differences in wealth and status. Fujio sat alone, deep in thought, mulling over Tsukasa's words. Memories flooded his mind, reminding him of the unwavering support he had received from Oya High School seniors when they had elected him as their leader. Meanwhile, at one of the Sainomon Alliance headquarters, Yosuke made a bold move by challenging the gang's leader to a one-on-one fight. But he didn't stop there, he also proposed a bet. If he won the fight, the school's gang would withdraw its support for Sainomon. After taking some time to calm down and consider his options, Fujio made the bold decision to lead an attack on Sainomon's base the following day. Yosuke, who had already fought and defeated one of Sainomon's alliances, informed Fujio that they would only have to face 2 more alliances. Fujio expressed his gratitude to Yosuke for the information. But their conversation was cut short when Fujio received a distressing call from Kohei. Tsukasa was being held captive by Sainomon. Undeterred, Oya High School rallied together to launch their attack on Sainomon Technical High School the next day. But as they made their way to the enemy base, they were suddenly confronted by a group of Hosei students. The Hosei students had witnessed the brutal treatment of their fellow student Kenzo, who was now hospitalized, and were eager to join forces with Oya in their fight against Sainomon. As they arrived at the headquarters, the Sainomon students and their alliance stood ready to face Fujio and his crew. Oya's students made a path for Fujio, Yosuke, and the Hosei commanders to ascend and confront Kohei, who was holed up on the top floor. The battle was intense, with Fujio and his team struggling to dodge a trap laid out by one of Sainomon's allies. Moreover, they were overwhelmed by Sainomon's group and their allies, who were wielding weapons in the fight. Suddenly, amidst the chaos, Suzoran's group showed up, with just 6 members, yet their arrival was enough to strike fear in the hearts of Sainomon students and their allies. Oya and Hosei members were awestruck as Fujio managed to secure help from Suzoran, considered the most dangerous and powerful school in Japan. The Suzoran members swiftly dealt with Sainomon's group, paving the way for Fujio and his comrades to rescue Tsukasa. Upon arriving at Sainomon's gymnasium, Fujio, Yosuke, and Yuken were met with the sight of Tsukasa being hanged, prompting a fierce battle against Kohei's men. In the midst of the fight, Kohei attempted to drop Tsukasa, but Fujio managed to save him just in time. After that, he turned his attention to helping Yosuke, who was struggling against Ryo. As they made their way out of the gym, Kohei's hired thugs showed up at the school gate, but Sachio, who had just returned from abroad, took care of them with ease. Meanwhile, back at the gym, Fujio and Ryo's fight continued while Yosuke battled against Kohei's remaining men. Suddenly, the gym was flooded with Suzoran, Hosei, and Oya students who had managed to defeat the Sainomon alliance outside. They all came to witness the epic battle between Fujio and Ryo. Amidst the chaos, Kohei realized that his school's alliance had lost, and attempted to contact his thugs, unaware that Sachio had already taken care of them. In a moment of fear, all the Sainomon alliance students who were paid by Kohei abandoned him, except for Ryo, who continued to fight by his side. It was at this moment that Kohei realized the true value of friendship and that Ryo was a true friend indeed. As a child, Ryo was constantly bullied by other kids, but Kohei always stood up for him and protected him. This inspired Ryo to become strong and learn how to defend himself, so that he could protect Kohei in return. In the present, Ryo and Fujio engaged in a brutal fight that ended with Fujio emerging as the victor. With Ryo lying helpless on the ground, Kohei, consumed by rage, drew a knife from his pocket and attempted to attack Fujio. However, Ryo intervened and stopped Kohei, reminding him that real men never resort to violence with weapons. Despite feeling like he wasn't cut out to be a leader, Fujio understood that his friends were counting on him to protect them. He fought alongside them and vowed to take down anyone who dared to hurt his friends, just like Ryo had done for Kohei. After the intense battle, Oya High School's alliance departed from Seinomon's base. It was only then that Fujio realized that he, Sachio, and Lao had formed the most powerful school alliance in all of Japan. Excited by this newfound strength, Fujio expressed his desire to challenge Lao and Sachio to a duel in the future. As the end of the movie, Kohei's heart is heavy with the realization that Ryo is the only true friend he has. And weeks later, they both muster up the courage to challenge Fujio to a rematch. Fujio arrogantly brushes them off, telling Ryo to take a number and wait his turn. But Ryo refuses to be deterred and stands up for what he believes in. The moral lesson that we can learn from this movie is, don't judge people based on rumors or first impressions. Take the time to get to know them. Don't blindly obey authority figures. Stand up for what is right, even if it's difficult.